everyone, welcome to Digital Shift, where we discuss topics that will affect business, society, and culture, as we want you to be better prepared for the future. If you see the shift coming, you can adjust to it. We've seen attitudes and mindsets changing regarding what the business is for. An often heard narrative is that the business is just for maximizing shareholder value. Now, new companies are emerging with a business model built around a purpose.
Hi Naomi, we welcome you to Digital Shift. Can you please start telling us about yourself and about your company or companies that you're working in?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. My name is Naomi MacKenzie, and I'm one of the two co-founders of Kitro. And at Kitro, we set out with the ambition to simplify food waste management for canteens, hotels, restaurants, basically any commercial kitchen, in order for them to reduce their food waste and save costs. And we turn to technology in order to automate this entire process. So we have a hardware and a software that allows them to essentially collect all the data they need in order to activate change and reduce their wasted resources.
Can you go deeper in how that works? Because you're saying data driven, and that's something that I love, because actually I hate it when people are doing decisions like, oh, my cousin said this and this and this, and it's done without any evidence. So that would be very interesting to hear.
Yeah, so something we strongly believe is, as you're saying, like what gets measured gets done, right? We have all these goals for 2030 to reduce our food waste by 50% or make changes. But if we haven't actually measured, then we don't know if we've actually achieved those goals. So for us, we apply machine learning and image processing technology, which essentially means we're taking pictures of people's trash. So we have a scale and a camera, and every time you're throwing something away, we take an image, the weight and the time. We analyze the image and we detect the different food items that are seen in your image. And then we have the weight to know the quantity and the time to know the source. And then this data we transfer into a online analytics dashboard for the customers, where they can see, for instance, okay, every Tuesday we're throwing away 10 kilos of bread. So we either have a problem in the production area, maybe we're putting too much out on the buffet, or maybe the bread is just not good, so the customers aren't eating the bread. So identifying trends in their food waste so that they can take action against it.
This sounds so interesting. This sounds also to me as if your company has a purpose. Can you tell us more about that, please?
Yeah, so Anastasia and I started the company, we started the idea of it in university. And so we both studied hospitality management, and we saw the discrepancy between those who have a lot of food and live in an abundance. They don't think about it if they throw away half a meal at the end of their meal. And then riding back on our bikes during internship and seeing those in the park who have absolutely nothing to eat and are waiting day after day to get just a little bit of food. And this discrepancy kind of, from a social cause, we realized that it's just a ridiculous thing that we're throwing away food. And then we started to think about all the environmental impacts that having one banana thrown away can actually imply, whether it's the water that's needed, transportation, the energy, the human labor. And I mean, it's even happened to us that you just quickly, completely forget about that and you throw a banana away. And I think realizing how easy it is, we thought of what is actually happening in the hospitality industry. And having worked in kitchens and in service, especially as interns, you're asked a lot to throw away trays and trays of perfectly edible food. And so we initially started Kitro from the sustainable and social cause, and didn't really think that there could be a financial benefit until someone came to us and said, look, if you want to start a company, social and sustainable are great causes, but there needs to be a financial implication if you want to succeed.
So in general, I think, how easy is it now to try to build a sustainable business with such a goal? I think you're more an outlier than a regular company, or not? What would you say?
I think it's because we're working in the field of sustainability, and we are an impact startup, as we like to call it. We by default are surrounded by other impact and sustainable startups. So for us, it seems like there's a lot out there, a lot of people doing this, and a bigger trend towards this direction. Even companies that don't have a direct sustainable impact, they look for side avenues where they could push what sustainable impact or social impact they're making. And comparative to a few years ago, I think we see that there's a lot of support in the ecosystem, especially in Switzerland and from the EU Commission, with the UN goals to hit all these sustainable and social targets by 2030. They've also let a lot of grants and a lot of different programs to be implemented in order to support innovation to drive in this direction.
Yeah, some time ago we made a project which had also a purpose, but was also profit driven. And we had a lot of problem actually getting support for that because we were kind of strange. I thought we should be an NGO, but we weren't. So how did you straddle that?
It's a good question. We have a very clear business case for our customers. They have a cost win. It's not just a kind of feel good, do good, which is also a great company. But I think as much as we want to believe that people are sustainably driven, they also are majority financially driven. So you need to show what the cost benefit is or the savings is in terms of economics. And so that's kind of how we've developed. We also at the beginning thought, should we be an NGO? Should we push it in this direction or that direction? But ultimately we realized the business case behind it. So as much as we'd love to believe that people are just going to measure their food waste because it's the right thing to do and they're going to take action, it's still not true. When you go to these big hotels, when you go to the big canteens, they're like, okay, but why would I pay for something? Like, how do I save money? Where's my benefit? And you're like, well, you're doing good, you're saving resources, but they need to see the number return.
Is it difficult to have the discussion? Because I think it's quite a sophisticated product. So are the customers also, is there a need for them to be sophisticated?
Well, I mean, existing solutions to measure the food waste require quite a lot of manual entry. So you're writing stuff down on a piece of paper or typing it into a tablet. So if people have measured in the past, they've done it through these very traditional and kind of outdated ways. And I think they don't need to understand the whole mechanics behind it or the whole technology behind it. They just need to understand that for them and for their staff members, there's no additional step. They do not have to change anything in their process in order to collect all this data. And that's something that we realize it has to be so simple that you don't have to do anything and then it can work. And I think we see it in foreign countries that they're making more and more mandates for food waste, for sustainable action, that you have to start taking actions and implementing processes that drive sustainability. And I think Switzerland is also on that path as well. It's just about how can you set standards or expectations if we've never measured and we don't know what we can expect or what standards should be in place.
What do you think of the official business narrative that a company has to maximize shareholder value?
Yeah, everyone, I mean, if you think of shareholders as like everyone, not just our employees are shareholders. Everyone who we work with, they are essentially shareholders. And I think you want to maximize value, but that doesn't mean monetary value. I think especially in the recent months, given the pandemic, people have started to reprioritize what is actually important. And a lot of people have said, okay, I can drive for money and I can get money pretty much anywhere, but then what am I doing with my time? What is the actual, when I look back in 10 years, what do I look back and say that I was proud of doing? And I think this is a huge change that we've seen, especially here in Switzerland since March, is that people, when we started to hire again now in the last few months, people are coming in, they're like, we need to do something that is actually impact driven. I don't just want to sit and sell, I don't know, a marketing package, because what impact does it have? I'm not doing that person any good. I want to sell something that really I can be proud of and I can stand behind. So I think there is a big mind shift that is here.
I would like to know, what are your thoughts about the business environment? Do you think it's favorable to build a sustainable, non-extractive business?
I mean, for the individual, I think so. I think I wouldn't have started a company that I didn't believe had the right purpose or drive behind it. I think again, the startup ecosystem is transforming. You have a lot of support for sustainable development and sustainable initiatives. This whole circular economy movement is how can you collaborate with others and how can we support each other to grow further and to become more than the big corporates and kind of compete at the same level. If we collaborate and we build partnerships with players that have those dependencies or strengths and competencies that we lack, then we can build an ecosystem that basically can compete. I think to some extent, we are now in the transition phase where sustainable or impact-driven initiatives will become more and more of an advantage than a disadvantage.
That sounds great. So just to reiterate, you think the business environment here in Switzerland is really favorable for something like your company?
I think it is moving in that direction for sure. I think we still have a lot of competition. I don't even want to call it competition. We have a lot of comparison to fintech and medtech and these very traditional business avenues where we just cannot compete on that level. We're not a medtech company. We won't have the same patents. We won't be selling for billions of dollars. We're not trying to be that. We're trying to make a shift in a change in people's awareness. We're trying to change for the better and to show people that there is a new way of doing a very old traditional process, and that value is found in your rubbish bins, basically. So we have a different goal, and we shouldn't be compared to those different kinds of companies. So I think it's moving in that direction, but I don't want to say it's where it should be yet.
And just something on a positive note, we recently were researching this topic, and we heard that like in the stock market, companies with a clear goal are 42% more valuable than companies which don't have one. So actually this seems to be quite important, and the younger generation seems to understand that. And we're interested in the topic because we think this narrative is really shifting. So the questions we were really asking is all the old business narrative, and I think it needs to be questioned.
Absolutely. I mean, that's very exciting to hear that there's more investment going into purpose-driven companies. I think it's, if you think for yourself, where would you want to put your money right now? It's clear, right? It's there's less people saying, oh, I want to put it into weapons and tobacco and oil, because do you really want to invest, not to anybody, against anybody who does invest in that, but really trying to support the causes you believe in, I think is something that is a transformational shift for people right now.
To build a good company, you need really self-motivated people, give all the energy to it. And I think they will only do it if you think the company is worth it. I guess it's what you see.
100%. We have an amazing team at Kitro, if I can be so to say so. I think it's yeah, your competency lies in your team and how you develop your team and how the team comes together. We call them the Kitrons. So we're a team of Kitrons, and
like aliens.
we're like superheroes. The Kitro kitchen heroes. Kitrons. But I think it does really change. It changes the dynamic of how you work and what you work for if everyone really stands behind the product, and everyone here. I mean, we're a startup. We're not paying the salary of a Google or of, I don't know, these bigger companies that.
The bank. They're
of the bank
going to pay a lot of money.
Absolutely. So these guys can pay. I don't want to say a number because I don't want them to come poach my people.
To pay very high salaries. It's known.
They pay really high salaries, and for us to have this talented of people working on building up Kitro is phenomenal, because we don't give the same incentives and the same benefit. But I think what people are valuing more and more, and what we see with the team, is that they all see the impact that they can have long term, and the value of being part of a team and being part of something bigger than just your day-to-day work. I think is something that it drives me as well, but we see it drives the rest of the team as well.
Cool. What question should we have asked you and missed?
Maybe not a question that you asked, but at the beginning you, I don't know how you phrased this. You were explaining things and you said that the old narrative of how businesses were built up and how they were looked at. And I think something that's interesting, a question that we constantly get is like, well, what are you going to do about competition? And what are you going to do when the competitors come in? And I think this is something that maybe is a bit different in an impact or sustainable driven startup, is that yes, you're going to have competition. And yes, obviously you want to do really well in your company, but you also have to remember that if you have competition, that means that somebody else is fighting for the same change in a process that you are. So ultimately our goal is for food waste to be reduced, or at one point, hopefully eliminated. So if there's competition on the market,
it's something
That's
good for you.
yeah, it's super exciting because that means
It proves your concept.
it proves our concept, and it means that the world is moving in the right direction because more and more people, there's more supply to feed the demand of moving towards zero waste, which I think is maybe a bit of a harder mind shift for the whole business, you know, focus of like, okay, competition, you got to beat them out and you can be the only one in the market and make sure you're better. And of course you want to build the best product that you can, but if there are other people also supporting hospitals and restaurants and canteens to reduce their food waste, that's a great sign. Like, we can't be mad at them and we don't want to kick them out because it's much more of a collaborative kind of environment than I think that traditional business mindset was or should have been.
Great.
This is such nice. I think on this high note we should end it, right?
Yeah, sure.
You made my day with this last question that you answered.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, it's really, I find it's really great.
Okay. Yeah, our one idea behind the whole thing is we see the things changing, and different narrative is possible, and that's what we want to make known a bit. So that's why we make these interviews and we publish them, because I think other people should notice you don't have to sell your soul and work in a bank.
Thank you for watching this interview. If you liked it, hit the like and subscribe button. This will help spread the word. You can find more interviews and events on our website. If you're looking for experts in product development, design, digital marketing or programming, let us know so we can connect you to our community. You can find more info on our website.